boys and girls, today we are in Saxon Math Book 3 and we're doing lesson 54, which is the very first time we are going to talk about repeated addition and how that relates to multiplication. So let's pretend we're counting nickels. Let's say I have 6 nickels and I'm going to count them. I could add 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 till I counted all my 6 nickels. Or I could just count by 5s and count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 cents. I could do the same thing with dimes. Let's say I had 4 dimes. I could add 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10. Or I could just count by 10s, 10, 20, 30, 40. So repeated addition, this is what I'm talking about when I say repeated addition, where I have the same number that I'm adding over and over and over again. Repeated addition is the same thing as multiplying. So I can write it like this, or I could write it as a multiplication problem. I'm looking at this going, oh, these are all 3s. So how many 3s do I have here? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could say, hey, I have 5 groups of 3. And 5 times 3 is going to give me the same answer as adding those 3s over and over again. So one way that we can read the multiplication problems is to look at this sign and in our heads think groups of. It's not just 5 times 3. I'm talking about 5 groups of 3. So that's what I'm going to talk about as we start doing multiplication this year. Eventually, you're going to have these problems all memorized, and then you'll just be able to say, oh, 5 times 3 is 15. So I can figure this out by counting. I want to count by whatever number is the easiest for me. So in this case, I'm going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15. I could also count by 3s and get the same answer. But like I said, pick the one that's easier for you to count by and do it that way. So 4 times 7 up here, I can rewrite that as a repeated addition problem. I can say, oh, I have 4 groups of 7. So I'm going to write 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. See my 4 groups? And then I put plus signs in between them to show repeated addition. Okay? Another type of problem you might see is this. We just did a lesson, I think it was 53 actually, where we were making rectangles and we were counting the boxes in there. And now we would count by the number that was in each row or in each column, but now we're going to start looking at that as repeated addition or multiplication problems. So in this rectangle, how many columns do I have? Here's a column, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 columns. How many rows do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 columns and 4 rows. So what I have in this picture here is 4 groups of 4, which is the same thing as 4 times 4. Once I've got this multiplication fact memorized, I can look at any shape like this and go, oh, 4 times 4 is 16, and I'll know the answer to how many little squares are inside the bigger rectangle, okay? Now at this point, we could also use repeated addition to say 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, and then I'll do my counting by 4, 8, 12, 16. I have 16 squares. So when we're talking about something like this, these little squares, since I didn't specify if they were inches or centimeters or feet, we just call them units. So I would say 16 units. 16 units. Okay. okay? All right, that is it for today's lesson. I am going to have you do some lesson practice problems. So let me get those up on the board. All right, for these first problems, you are going to write each multiplication problem as a repeated addition problem. So the first one is 3 times 5. You're going to write it as a repeated addition problem and then find the answer. Okay, 3 times 5. Four times 6. 2 times 8. And 4 times 10. Hit pause, try those 4, and then come back when you're ready to see the answers. So remember, we're not just finding the answer, we're writing them as a repeated addition problem. So I'm going to read this as 3 groups of 5. So I will write 1 group of 5, 2 groups of 5, 3 groups of 5, and then I put my plus signs in between them, and 5, 10, 15, there's my answer. For this one, it says 4 times 6, but I can reread that as 4 groups of 6. So I want group of 6, 2 groups of 6, 3 groups of 6, 4 groups of 6, with all my plus signs, and now we're going to count by 6s. 6, 12, 18, 24. 4 times 6 is 24. 2 groups of 8. That'll just be 8 plus 8. We know that one. That's a doubles fact. 16. 4 groups of 10. 1 group of 10, 2 groups of 10, 3 groups of 10, 4 groups of 10 with my addition symbols. And we've got 10, 20, 30, 40 as our answer. Okay, the next set of practice problems, I'm going to give you a repeated addition problem, and I want you to write it as a multiplication problem. So we're going to flip the process. So for this one, you're not just finding the answer, you're also writing it as a multiplication problem. Same thing here. And then you're going to have a find the boxes problem with a rectangle as well. So we want it like that. There's your rectangle. And you are going to write the multiplication fact that is shown by this picture, by this rectangle. Okay? Hit pause, try these 3, come back to me when you're ready to see the answer. So, how many groups of 2 do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I will write 5 groups of 2 equals 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 5 times 2 equals 10 is our answer to that first one. Here I have 1, 2, 3 groups of 4. And I can count by 4s, 4, 8, 12. And then for my picture here, I need to count the length and the width. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for my length. 1, 2, 3 for my width. So I could write this multiplication fact two ways. I could say I have 6 groups of 3, like this, or I could look at it this way and say I have 3 groups of 6. Either one of these would be correct. Both of them are going to give me an answer of 18. That's the end of your lesson for today. Right now it's time for you to do your written practice, which begins on page 294 of your textbook. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon.